Hey, Ann Claire, how are you?
Hi, Meg. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I've missed you.
Aw, I missed you too.
We haven't been in 2 weeks. And so I had a little empty spot in my heart just waiting for you this whole week.
Aw, that's really cute. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh, I hibernated basically for 5 days.
I like a nice hibernation week.
But it is lovely, though, to be back, to be chatting more, and to be recording extra questions and answers.
I'm so excited. I'm
Do
ready.
you want Okay. I was going to say, do you want to just jump straight in? But I think we're ready. Actually, do you want to walk right in? Oh my God, this is the best pun. Uh, the, the question that we received today is my walking really an issue for my recovery?
Dun, dun, dun.
It's a really interesting question because I can see, the really in capital letters, like I'm really questioning whether or not someone questioning my walking makes sense. And I get it. I really get it. It is an important question.
hmm And I can see why someone would be skeptical when their treatment team tells them to stop walking or to really minimize walking at first, because think about all of the messaging out there about walking and how it's healthy. It's really healthified in a lot of spaces. And
It's so funny. It's like I remember the first time I read about the like certain number of steps, whatever that everyone aims at, and how that came out of just some random decision to make it that. And it's just like it was never actually based on something. And granted, we're not saying moving is not a health promoting behavior. We're not saying walking is bad, but we're saying there are very good reasons to add nuance here.
yes, precisely. I think walking is a slippery slope in an eating disorder lens because it can become disordered really fast and it can turn into something that's focused on numbers, obsession. It's kind of like a tool that people use that becomes really militant. It's a
Mhm.
part of their eating disorder that causes a lot of pressure and stress and obligation. I see so many people feel this intense obligation to
Mhm.
exercise. And if they've told not to exercise, that kind of secretly, subtly morphs into, well, I'm just going to take an innocent walk then. But then they're reporting that they're walking like hours a day or like an amount that's just
Yeah.
not a chill, gentle amount.
Mhm. I mean, this is the first important bit here, right? Often we are presented exercise and walking as something different.
Mhm.
And the first thing to know here is that all movement counts. Walking is movement. Going to the gym is movement. Going for a run is movement. All cycling is a movement. And so it's important to not let our eating disorder sort of use this wellness diet culture definition of movement that counts to sort of say, oh, walking isn't that. Walking isn't exercise, or like going grocery shopping isn't movement, or doing housework isn't movement. It's like, no, 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 no. All of those count.
Right.
That's movement. So eh, that's the first bit, right? Because I feel like that's always where I have to start conversations with clients when we talk about exercise/movement, and there may be a walking component in the picture.
Mhm. I hear it so much from maybe athletes too who come to me or people with an athletic past. They're like, I'm just so like athletic and I've been doing sports my whole life. There's no way that vacuuming the house is even considered movement. or, and it's like, no, we actually have to bring it back to something that basic. Like walking counts as movement and it can be part of your eating disorder. It, walking up the stairs, functional movement is what people call it. These things that are very subtle and insidious, where, okay, so maybe you are listening to your team's orders in a way of not exercising. But if you're walking around your house obsessively and can't sit and relax and rest, you're still letting the integrity of that challenge get ruined, right? Because the integrity of the challenge, please eliminate movement, is gone if you spend half your day walking to and from the grocery store
Mhm.
or walking to and from work multiple times or whatever that might look like.
And one way that I sometimes approach it with clients is to be like, well, why are you walking that much? Right? Okay, let's say temporarily that this is not the same thing. Why are you going out 3 times to the store every day? And why are you going for this many walks for that long every day? And then they're going to be like, well, and then we get to, if I don't, my eating disorder is loud and tells me I don't have the right to eat this or I shouldn't eat that and I should compensate and negotiate. And it's like, and this is exactly the same purpose as the higher level, more intense movement. Ergo, it is movement, it is exercise. It's the same thing. It's just another form of it.
Right.
So if it's not obvious, when you approach it from a movement, just like looking at what that is and how you can't stop, look at it from what is my intention when I look at this? Like, why am I doing this? Like, if I don't do it, what comes up?
Yes.
And I guarantee that if it's disordered, it's going to be extremely similar or exactly the same thoughts as for the other kind of movement, whether that's walking, running, cycling, going to the gym, swimming, whatever. Yogaing, Pilates and all that, that counts too. Okay. Like don't start telling me that that does not count. Movement, all movement.
I'm so glad you bring up that point about like looking at the intention behind it and also listening to the thoughts that might come up if you're not engaging in that movement. And that's a good point, even to ask yourself, like, am I avoiding discomfort? Like, is walking helping me avoid something uncomfortable? Is this low level movement giving me peace of mind? Is this the only way I'm achieving peace of mind or feeling worthy of eating food today? And, you know, that goes to show that there is a link between like your eating disorder and the movement you're doing. So the true healing comes from being able to rest and allow and tolerate the discomfort that rest brings you, right? And eventually you might build tools with your team on how to challenge those thoughts and let your healthy self like build strength
Mhm.
around the idea.
Yeah. Now, you and I, Meg, use the 8 keys book all the time, basically, in our work. And there is a really, really interesting assignment in the 8 keys book
Yes.
to sort of help anyone check with themselves whether or not their relationship with movement and exercise is compulsive and disordered or not. And I find that list to be really helpful too. Because if we're being honest with ourselves and we read through that and we realize that, oh, yeah, these things do apply to me, it's a massive red flag. And I feel like maybe we could go through a few of them so that if someone watching this video is like, well, I don't know if this applies to me, maybe this can help.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I want to show off how tattered my book is. It's so bad looking. Like, look at all the water damage it has. Like, I've spilled on this thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, Meg, did you go and take a bath with it? Or did you go swimming with it?
I shower with it. I've brought it on like every trip. I'm not kidding. I bring it on trips with me and stuff because if I need to reference it to a client, it's there. I mean, it's always next to me. It's actually Probably my
And this is the coach life. When you travel and you take your work with you, you always have your 2 8-piece books with you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. So let me share some of these signs since I have the book open and ready to share. And I think it's all interesting. The assignment is basically look at this list and check all that apply, So should I just read through all them or do we want to go through like maybe one or two, three or four? Like,
How about you point to a few that you find are
oh,
particularly interesting?
okay. So I will say this one speaks to me and it's a good one to start off with. You never take a break from exercise. And this gets at the crux of, I think, a lot of people's disorder and where I, as a coach, can really identify that it's a very disordered behavior for them because they are exercising when they're injured. They're exercising when it's like snowstorming outside. They're exercising in the rain. They're like never taking breaks, even when it's extremely appropriate to take breaks.
Mhm.
They're maybe waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. to go to the gym, whether or not they've listened to their body and checked in to see if they're even needing more sleep than that, right? So there's extreme cases where they're never taking a break, or this is a big one. Your team's telling you to take a break and you're not. That's a red flag, right? There's a sign it's very disordered. Like
Yeah.
your team's asking you, hey, please take breaks, and you're not, right? You actually physically can't.
Mhm.
So it can also just be on a lower level too, like not so extreme, just like you really can't go a day without resting
Mhm.
or, your body's screaming at you to take the day off and you force yourself to take a break. So that's a big one.
Yeah. I will say there's like one or two that I can see past me in. And those are you become irritable or anxious when something interferes with your exercise and you cancel family or social engagements to exercise. That was me. I mean, when I was in recovery, I didn't have someone who gave me this list, but I remember when I was training to become a coach and I read this list, I was like, ouch, because 100%. And when you read it like this, that points so like, I don't know, like sharply to how completely misaligned it is with who you want to be and who you are to your core. Because I remember people suggesting activities or something that was going to get in the way of me exercising and me getting horribly annoyed and angry and frustrated. And and sometimes I would be like, no, I can't do that. I'm not available for that. And it's like, honestly, if I had been honest, the reason was I'm choosing to go to the gym, which I feel really bad about now, right? But at the time, it seemed like that was the right choice to do because quote unquote health, absolutely not. More like eating disorder. But those two, when someone sees themselves in those two, I feel like the switch is, I don't know, like it really takes you like at your core, if that makes sense, because it just feels so wrong. Sometimes it can be like, well, I don't take a break because I don't feel tired. And maybe you're not in touch with your body and you don't even feel how you feel in the morning. And so you think you are honoring your body because you're like, I don't feel tired, but maybe you're just not even connected to your body signals. Wouldn't be surprising because you might not also feel hungry. And yet your body is probably hungry if you're restricting, for example. So sometimes you can sort of negotiate yourself out of the sign, sort of like rationalize yourself out of it. But this one, if you feel yes, it's like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the social one I find really points to being misaligned with priorities and maybe misaligned with your own values. I think so many of us value relationships, value love, support, connection, and you are prioritizing exercise and health,
Yeah.
things that like
It-
matter more. Like it matters. You should show up for people for important events in life. And you're putting, like, say you're invited to a baby shower or something, and you miss your friend's baby shower because you need to go to a spin class. Like, where's your head at? Like,
Yeah.
it's
And yeah, it's like, you're talking based on your current life events, Meg. I know you went to a baby shower not so long ago.
I go to baby showers every week. It's like my job now at this point.
But it's so true, though. It is so clear, in those moments how this is not really me. And the mood thing, what I like about that one is that often people will be like, but exercise makes me feel good. And then it's like, to an extent, it actually does, because we know from science that moving does do magic stuff to your body and you have endorphins and whatnot. But also, I believe that part of that is your mood is better because your eating disorder is screaming less loud. And you know how this question is like, you get irritable or anxious if something interferes with your exercise? It's the same thing as if I asked you, what if you just did nothing for a week? And you feel barriers coming up internally and being like, no, we can't do that. That resistance is the exact same resistance as that one, because that's the thing that's making you be in a bad mood. So you can't tell me exercise makes you feel good when the lack of it suddenly puts you in a completely like trash mood.
Right.
That's not a thing.
Like I said earlier, I think exercise is used as an avoidance tool a lot of the times. So you might think, oh, it makes me feel good, but in reality, it's your numbing device, or maybe the thing that makes it easy for you to avoid the difficult emotions or the critical voice inside of you. So of course, you're going to feel better if you can get that critical voice to be quiet for an hour, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not authentically feeling good. That's avoidance. It's the same thing as turning to other tactics like scrolling on your phone for an hour or drinking or whatever it might be. Like, you're just numbing out and avoiding because you're not actually
So
feeling good. Yeah. There's one other thing on this list I want to bring up because it was relevant to my own story. And it's the last one. You exercise to compensate for eating or overeating. But I would say any eating is something I see a lot. Or if you feel like you have to earn it. So it's used as either an earn tactic, like I'm going to exercise so I can earn this food later, or I'm going to exercise because I broke my rules and I need to compensate after the fact. And I remember exercising in such an energy debt, right? Like there was no proper nourishment in connection to the movement I was doing. And that's extremely disordered. So again, that one is you exercise for compensation. That's a big, I see that a lot.
A massive one. It's so normalized too. Like, if anyone here is a fitness instructor, I hope you don't ever say to the people in your classes, like, let's make up for that or let's prepare for that. Because no, that's not what movement is for. So I do want to say, like, yes, this is normalized, but no, this is still not okay.
It's not okay because it also buys into the kind of BS narrative that calories in equals calories out, and humans aren't vacuums, right? We're not like scientific experiments. There's so many variables when it comes to that being an incorrect statement and your body just changing day to day and how it uses fuel and why it's using different amounts of fuel. So when you think, oh, I can work out to make up for this, you're subscribing to that statement, which there's a lot of ways we can challenge that.
Yes, absolutely. Now, to like loop back to the question of, is my walking really an issue for my recovery? I want to say, dear person who asked us that question, and anyone else who's asking themselves that question, look through some of these questions that, and those statements that we mentioned today. See how that sits with you. consider the lack of exercise for a week or two and see what comes up internally. If you feel resistance, there's something there that needs to be explored more. Those are all big red flags. And we really, really highly encourage you to explore that further with your treatment team and address it and challenge it.
I love that. I agree. Thank you, Anne Claire. That makes a lot of sense. And I hope that whoever did send that in can take time to turn inward and just reflect on the emotions they're experiencing and, have the courage to perhaps stop walking for a little bit if that's what's needed. And just a reminder to everyone here, like, no movement, no exercise is a temporary step for a lot of people in recovery, and it's not always forever. When you are recovered and you heal your relationship with food and your body, your relationship with movement also has the ability to heal, and you can reconnect with movement in a joyful way, in a
Mhm.
peaceful way, in a way that's not causing you pressure or stress. So,
Yeah, maybe we should
about
do
that.
another episode one day on practical steps and how our relationship with movement changed. If anyone watching this feels like, oh, yeah, I'm really curious to hear more about this, please drop a little note in the comments below. And we will know that this is something you'd like to hear us talk more about. And yeah, was there anything else that you wanted to add for this one, Meg?
I think that's it. I think we're good to go, Anne Claire.
Well, thank you, Meg. Thank you, anyone who's watching. If you watched this and you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And feel free to also take a screenshot, share it on social media, tag us. We will reshare that happily on our stories. We're always happy to see you, lovely humans, enjoy these episodes. And yeah,
Yay. Thanks, everyone.
bye.